everybody? Welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports. Jacob Gramegna, whatever you want to call the channel. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me here today for your midweek Wednesday Raptors Happy Hour live stream. We are here for Wednesday, January 28th, and there's already going to be quite a bit to talk about on the show today. But some news came out today that makes an even more exciting rendition of the show here. The Raptors Happy Hour is the live stream we do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time in that happy hour window to bring you everything regarding the Toronto Raptors. We go through the latest news, we go through the latest discussions, I answer questions from the chat, and so much more in the hour, always filled to the brim with content. And the news coming out today is, of course, the potential of Giannis Antetokounmpo getting traded. It's the first time in a while, it's first time that it's been really made apparent that, yes, they are listening for offers. They are prepared for this trade to actually happen. So we're going to discuss the validity of Toronto's potential to make a trade for a player of Giannis's caliber right now, because trade deadline is next week. It's been creeping up. It's almost here. It's next week. It's time to make a move for the Toronto Raptors. Aside from the potential of a Giannis trade, we will also be discussing, just in general, what the Raptors should be doing before the NBA trade deadline, whether that's trading for a superstar like Giannis or doing something else. Then we're going to look at some of the worst contracts around the NBA and see how some of the bad contracts on the Raptors stack up to that. And to finish off, we're going to take a look at the Rising Stars selection, because since the last time I was live, we have had information on, we have had the reveal of the Rising Stars rosters. We've had the draft as well. I don't really care about the draft because I don't really... Listen, I don't want to be disrespectful to the guys there, but I'm not going to be watching the All-Star game. I'm certainly not going to be watching the Rising Stars game, so I apologize to the Raptors players that have made it, but we're going to react to those Rising Stars roster, talk about who from the Raptors made it, and maybe more importantly, well, not more importantly, but also important, who didn't make it from the Raptors. So all that and more on today's Raptors Happy Hour live stream. Hit that like button if you enjoy along the way, and subscribe for more content like it. Today is a doubleheader, and it will be a doubleheader on Friday, which means 2 streams tonight. We're live at 5 p.m. for the happy hour. Later tonight, 7:15 p.m. Eastern, I'm live for Raptors versus New York Knicks watch-along. And Friday's a doubleheader as well, because the Raptors also have a game that evening as well. So we got loads of content coming at you on the channel, so appreciate any support. Let's say what's up to the people in the chat to get us going here. Adam H, once again back. Giannis happens. We'll see. FTC clip winner 1 says Giannis to Toronto. We'll see. The Immortal Science says Yanni. We'll see. Winner 1 says you got to keep CMB, BI, and Scotty Barnes. We'll get to that. We'll get to Giannis. Giannis. Phoenix says Okumpo. That's funny. You're not getting Giannis to CMB. We'll see. We'll talk all about what it is going to take for the Raptors to actually do this. Yes. It's possible. It is possible. I mean, it is possible he doesn't get traded at all. I don't think it's set in stone that he's going to get traded here. It's kind of like a quick turnaround to make this happen. Quick turnaround to make this happen, and the Bucks could get maybe more in the offseason, so it's a little bit tough. Okay, enough of time. Let's just dig into it. All right. We all saw the news. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think it's the first time that there's been any outright confirmation that, yes, the Milwaukee Bucks are looking at trade offers for Giannis Antetokounmpo. We had this report that came from Shams Charania of ESPN that Giannis is ready for a new home. at the February 5th trade deadline, or importantly, in the offseason, as several rival teams make aggressive offers to the Milwaukee Bucks for him. The franchise, keyword here now, is starting to listen. They're starting to listen. And it's a complicated situation, which we will touch on, but let's focus on the Raptors side of this. Is this a trade the Raptors can make? And is this a trade the Raptors should make for their team before that February 5th trade deadline? So before, I talk about, the Raptors side of this, I find this, real cat and mouse game that the Bucks and Giannis are playing to be pretty funny here. Giannis loves the fan base, Milwaukee. You know, he won a championship there. And, the only reason he wants to leave here is because they threw everything, pushed in all their chips on Damian Lillard, essentially, on a team that was on the way out. Maybe that kind of gave them a little bit more of a possibility of winning the chip, and then there was a Damian Lillard injury. There was nothing really the Bucks could do. They've done a pretty bad job of managing assets around Giannis as of late. So now he wants to go and be a contender somewhere else and go and try and win a championship, because it appears as though that is not going to happen in Milwaukee anytime soon. And for the Bucks, they know that this team isn't going to win a championship, so they need to cash in on Giannis in order to start building the next championship team in Milwaukee. So it's funny that both sides probably agree it is best for a trade to happen. But like I said, because Giannis loves the city so much, the fans so much, and doesn't want to be the one that requests a trade to look bad, he doesn't want to taint his legacy by asking for trade, so he's not asking for a trade. At the same time, the Bucks as an organization, they don't want to be the ones who went up and said, we're trading away one of the greatest, the greatest player in our franchise's history. So both teams, both sides, both parties probably agree a trade is necessary, but neither want to outright say it. So I love the language that's being fed to Shams here. He's ready for a new home. Giannis is ready for a new home. He's not asking for a trade. He's ready for a new home. The Bucks aren't trying to trade him, but they're starting to listen. You know, the language here is pretty funny, but ultimately what we get, a trade is desired to happen from both parties, whether that be now or in the offseason, because, like I said, we're creeping up onto this NBA trade deadline here. And of the reports that we have, look, we don't have, super credible reports or anything, but the Raptors are apparently one of the teams in the mix, and Giannis apparently prefers the Raptors as one of his options, alongside the Knicks, the Heat, alongside the Knicks and the Heat. I understand the desire to stay in the Eastern Conference, especially something you're familiar with, but let's be honest, it is an easier conference to go through in the playoffs and get individual accolades, etc. So we didn't need that report. We knew the Raptors could be in the mix because they have the assets to do it. They have the star power to do it. They have the young players to do it. They have the tradable contracts to do it. And maybe most importantly, the Raptors have the picks in order to make this deal possible. So let's explore what that trade would have to look like to actually materialize. Because, this is Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's getting older, but he is still very much, I don't know how strict you want to be with prime, but he's in his prime as far as talent is concerned. He's still playing extraordinary basketball when he's out there on the court. This is a player if you have the opportunity to get, yes, you're going to be interested in this player. We're not we might just wait and see what we have here. No, Giannis on the table, that doesn't happen ever, a player this good. Let's see what we can do to make this happen. Then we'll adjust. Okay, that's too much for us to give away. But for the contract purposes here, Giannis' situation is this. 1.5 years left on his contract before he has a player option for the 27-28 season. He'll be 33 years old. I would wager at this point he's not going to take that. He'll look for a longer-term deal there to lock him in at very large figures into his late 30s. So you have 1.5 years of security. I would certainly estimate here, educated guess here, if you're going to trade for Giannis, you're probably going to discuss an extension up front and figure out if that's going to be something that happens before trading for him. So I'm not too worried about the term of the contract there. I feel pretty good about that. So that's not a point of worry for me. I don't really think it should be a point of worry for yourself. So let's try and do a trade here. So the issue I have with a trade kind of materializing for Giannis is that I think the conversation starts and ends with Scottie Barnes. Like, the Bucks will start the conversation on Scottie Barnes, and they will feel like, well, we're not going to do this trade unless Scottie Barnes is involved. And I think the Raps at this point will be like, well, we're not doing this trade if Scottie Barnes is involved. And you know what? I know it's Giannis here, but I think that's pretty fair. Like, you have invested a lot of time and resources into developing Scottie Barnes, and you are getting the output that you are looking for. Scottie Barnes is operating at an all-star level this season, an all-defense level, definitely like even a defensive player of the year level. And honestly, by the end of the season, you could make a very, very solid case this is an all NBA season. I'm not sure you can list out 15 players performing better than Scottie Barnes this season. And he's still young and can still get better. Like, this Raptors team has no business being one of the best defensive teams in the NBA based on the players you have around him. Yet it is because you have this guy. So I can't trade. I'm sorry. I know it's Giannis. I cannot trade Scottie Barnes here. I cannot do it. I would not do it. The conversation ends at Scottie Barnes for me, for the Raptors. Like, especially if you're trading for Giannis. Like, you're not trading for Giannis to play him next to the other guy. You're getting Giannis to play next to your best player. Your best player is Scottie Barnes. So unfortunately, that's where the conversation ends. If that can be communicated, that Scottie is not going to be involved, let's see if we can still construct a good enough trade to satisfy the needs of the Bucks. So we're going to do two different versions of this possible trade here. The first version is going to be the version that doesn't include Brandon Ingram, because I kind of want to put all three. I want to maximize the talent here and put all three together. I don't know how desirable it is for the Bucks to take on Brandon Ingram right now anyways, but we're going to do a non-Brandon Ingram version, then we're going to do a Brandon Ingram version to see what it kind of looks like on both sides. So obviously, Giannis goes to the Raptors. We're going to make a large attempt to include Thanasis in this trade because I feel like, that's part of the deal a little bit. But how are we going to stack up the finances here? First of all, RJ's your guy that gets you up there financially. RJ's a guy that gets you into the mix there financially. We're not really here getting any favors. So I think Quickly has a little bit more value for a contract than Pirtle right now just because his back is so messed up. So I want to construct around Quickly and Barrett. I honestly think that's enough already. It is enough already, financially speaking. So let's just toss in Thanasis. Is that still work? It still works. Okay. So let's get both Antetokounmpo brothers here. Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett. Say Phoenix saying keep IQ. You have to trade somebody here. You can't just trade nobody, okay? I'm with you, but you can't trade nobody. The reason I'm going to go with Emmanuel Quickly ahead of Jakob Poeltl is I would obviously rather put in Jakob Poeltl, but I find it to be more unlikely that the Bucks entertain a trade with Poeltl just because of the health issues and concerns right now, and because Quickly probably gives you a little bit more right now. So I want to construct a trade basically I'll give away these contracts, and then it's the picks. It is every pick. If you're doing this, it's every single pick. It is every single pick you're capable of trading. It is the litany of first round picks here. 4 first round picks involved. It has to be this way. Second round picks 2, and I think swaps are involved as well. Like you're pretty much giving everything to make this trade happen. They're not getting the blue chip piece back they want. It is all the picks in order to make this one happen. I would do it. I would do it. You're not giving away a cornerstone piece of your roster. It's all the picks, but you're getting Giannis. Fortunately, that is one I have to do. Sorry, I hear my dog's having a nightmare. If you can hear my dog, let me wake her up. She's having a nightmare back here. Hey, okay, you're safe. All right, buddy. Should you wake up dogs if they're having a nightmare? Should you wake up? I don't like her hearing her suffer, so I wake her up. Anyways, yeah. Would the Bucks take this? I don't know. I mean, they're looking for a star player back, or they're looking for a blue chip young piece. They're not really getting either. I don't really see them being interested here in these two players. It's just like they're getting all the picks. I think they won't take it, and I think another team would give them more. So let's go back to the drawing board here and include the player that would have to be in the deal. I already hear you saying no. But do you want Giannis? Colin Murray-Boyles is going to have to be included. I'm sorry, but like at some point there needs to be some value going in the other direction. So we'll construct it now as if Colin Murray-Boyles is the piece of this deal. We'll add in Jakob Poeltl for this one as well. Take away Emmanuel quickly. We'll send this their way. We have a success once again. I mean, they're describing Colin Murray-Boyles as a movement shooter. I don't know if that's correct, but this one would be tough. I mean, I know we get attached to our young guys. We love our young guys. We love the developing pieces here, but this is you're a championship contender with this trade. So I unfortunately am not stuck on Colin Murray-Boyles. That is not a sticking point for me. If they're willing to take Colin Murray-Boyles as the main part of their return, I would be willing to go back the other way. RJ Barrett at least can give you some minutes. You're not a completely dumpster fire team. That contract's only got a year and a half remaining, unlike the 3.5 on Emmanuel Quickly's contract. If I'm the Raptors, I'm trading for Giannis. I've got plenty of wings now. I've got Ingram. I've got Barnes. I've got Giannis. I, unfortunately, can do without RJ Barrett. I need a point guard who has the potential and ability to space the floor. Quickly is a pretty good fit for that group in terms of his ability to let fly from outside. So that is the direction that I would be going in. This is a trade. I actually think this is one that could get it done. I actually think. I know they're taking on the Poeltl contract, but we have to match salary somewhere. I actually think this has a good chance to get it done. What if they want Jacoby as well? Also not going to stop me here, to be honest. Not going to stop me. Still success. That wouldn't stop me. I'd still do it. I'd feel sick about it, but I'd do it, and I'd get a Giannis jersey. Not going to be. I'm thinking of a Quickly, Ingram, Barnes, Giannis, and I guess Mamukilishvili starting 5. Try to pick up maybe a big elsewhere to supplement your depth there. This is something that I'm comfortable with. This I'm comfortable. I'm sick. I don't want to trade Murray-Boyles, but this is Giannis we're talking about. I'm willing to do it there. Now let's flip over and discuss what it would have to be with Ingram. I don't actually really think there is a huge desire on the Bucks to get Ingram. If we're doing Ingram, then okay, we can basically swap Ingram out of the starting 5 and put Giannis in. We can keep in that case RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly. I'd rather keep Ingram. He's a superior player there. I still think in order to get this done, it has to be Colin Murray-Boyles that goes into the trade. Now we're giving away 2 pretty significant pieces here. We got to cut some money. We still got a salary match here a little bit. So let's do Abaji and Walter, and they give us, like I said, Thanasis probably does need to come in this trade. That is a lot coming out the door. And just imagine this with all the picks as well. That is a lot that's coming out of the door here. I don't really want to do this one. I value Ingram quite a lot, and I'd rather have him in with Giannis and Barnes. I don't really see a strong desire for the Bucks to want Brandon Ingram. So this is probably what it has to look like. I think basically if you're not going to put in Scotty Barnes, you have to put in CMB. I know we like CMB. I think at times we can get quite attached to young players, which is, it's not necessarily a bad trait, but like it is kind of for these sort of discussions. Sometimes you need to see the bigger picture and think that this is Giannis Antetokounmpo that we're talking about. This is one of the best, one of the top 5 players in the NBA. You are a championship contender. If you make this trade, you have to make sacrifices in order to get to that status. That sacrifice being a rookie who I think has a very, very high ceiling, but there's still a long way to go to make that happen. A lot of work that has to go in to get him to that point. Giannis is already here. So without Scotty, this is probably a very difficult trade to materialize. But like I said earlier, this conversation ends at Scotty Barnes for me. He is not going to be in this deal. If Scotty Barnes is not going to be in this deal, I'm sorry, guys. If you want Giannis, Colin Murray-Boyles probably does have to be. Again, not happy doing it, but I would do it. I would trade Colin Murray-Boyles. And I'd feel sick. What do you guys think? How deep would you be willing to go to get Giannis Antetokounmpo on this team? Do an example trade with Scotty that gets it done? Sure. I'm not doing it, though. I'm telling you right now. I'm not doing it. I'm telling you right now. So, obviously, we're keeping Murray-Boyles in this instance. Oops, sorry. Scotty Barnes. So, we still need to match. We still need to get the salary up somewhere. So, let's do Abaji. If you're getting Barnes, I mean, you're taking this shit contract. Let's keep Abaji. You're taking this Garbo contract. Yeah. So big. I mean, Turner would be greedy. I don't think so. But if they're trying to tank, I mean, that's a fat contract. God, Giannis and if Pirtle's healthy, he'd be so good with Giannis. Oh my God. I think they'd do RJ. I think they'd do RJ. Can we get something? Can we get something else here? They don't got shit else. They don't got anything, man. This team stinks. This team stinks. They got nothing I want. Sure, AJ Green. Get AJ Green. Where does it fail? AJ Green can't get traded. They got nothing good, man. They have nothing good on this team. I mean, Ryan Rollins, I would say, but like, I don't think they're gonna trade Ryan Rollins here. All right, let's just make it Pirtle. Let's wipe our hands clean of that contract. This would be different. I'm not trading Scotty Barnes. I'm not gonna do it. Nope, can't do it. Cannot, will not do it. Cannot do it. All right, let's see what the chat is saying here. Do I think they can make Jacoby into a point guard? Definitely not. Definitely doesn't have the traits of a point guard to me. You can literally keep the whole team if you just give Scotty. Well, not the whole team, but I mean, you could argue in some cases Scotty Barnes is the whole team. On defense, you could definitely make that case. They aren't taking Pirtle. It would have to be IQ, Barrett, CMB, Grady, and like 6 first. Yeah. I mean, I'd put Abaji in there because like that's salary and that's expiring salary for them. But yeah, it's CMB is the guy they're getting if it's not Barnes. Why we give up so much for players that want out? Lakers got Luka basically not much. Okay, what everyone needs to do is think about the Luka Doncic trade. Think about it really hard because this needs to be the last time you ever think about that trade. Okay, that is the largest anomaly of a trade in NBA history. That is widely regarded as the worst trade in NBA history. To use that as any comparison to anything going forward is just wrong. You cannot use that as a comparison. That cannot be a comparison. So think really hard and then just forget about that for every discussion you'll ever have for the rest of your life, because that is just such a unicorn, horrific trade that won't be repeated. It's not going to happen again. Don't worry about the Luka Doncic deal. That was criminal and will not be the base or precedent for any trade moving forward. Irrelevant. It's irrelevant information to this. Sky will never be Giannis. So dumb to let Giannis go just to keep Scotty. Kind of disagree. Barnes, like I said, probably operating as a top 15 player in the league this season, is still very young, can still get better. You're trading for Giannis because you want to play them together. I think there is value in having Scotty Barnes at 24 years old at this level, and to continue to have him for a very long time. That is my sticking point there. I assume we can sign him long term because we have them for UF. Yeah, I said that a bit earlier. So in case you're jumping in, I led off the segment basically saying the contract is not a concern to me because I don't think this trade happens without an understanding that this is a partnership that's going to be more than a year and a half. Like the Brandon Ingram trade, everyone was crying like, oh my God, Brandon Ingram's on a rental. He's going to leave in the offseason. I said, no, he isn't. They'll just sign him to an extension in the offseason, and they're not going to make this trade unless they know that's going to happen. And then 2 days after they traded for him, was it the next day or something, that he signed an extension. So not a sticking point for me. I don't think that's a problem. Okay, keep him moving through the chat here. Scotty can be all NBA. He's never going to be an MVP or champ without someone better than him. I don't quite agree there. Scotty is quite far from his prime. I think right now the correct team around him, there could be a championship in Toronto with Scotty Barnes being the best player on the team and like winning Finals MVP, for example. It'd have to be a pretty damn good team around him. I'm not gonna deny that. But he's 24. We have 3 more years of development in theory before he's in his prime. I've always subscribed to the potential of him getting there one day and being there one day. So I'm fine. I'm fine to invest more time into Scotty Barnes and pass on Giannis to do it. Do you think we get AJ Green? I guess not, because he's not trade eligible this season. Bucks got nobodies. We're not trade. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, look, I can understand take this team, replace Scotty, maybe get other assets to supplement the team. Now you have Giannis, but I wouldn't. I just can't quite do it. I can't quite get there. I think there's too much value in Scotty Barnes to want to do that, and to lose all the picks at the same time. The bar says, "Don't worry about the bar. Don't worry about the bar on Luka. Forget about it." Like I said, the last time you ever need to think about that trade. Hopefully it goes out west. I find it unlikely. I think he'll end up in the east, to be honest. Anyways, this is if the trade happens before the deadline. I would say it's under. I would say Giannis getting traded is under 50%. It's not the easiest trade to pull off this quickly. It's not like you do have to reconstruct your team. I think it's more likely that this trade happens in the offseason when teams have more time to kind of get their offers going. They're comfortable waiting there. I believe this will be it's certainly possible by the deadline, but I think it's more likely to be an offseason move for somebody. And we can recycle this topic once again. Nico was a scapegoat. No way a GM would trade a franchise player of Luka's caliber without ownership approval. Not wrong. There was definitely more pieces involved than Nico Harrison, but it's not like Nico Harrison was this great GM who made one mistake. Nico Harrison absolutely buried that franchise with a lot of decisions in succession. I know they made a finals, but the team could have been even better for that finals run, but some poor trades hampered what they could do. And he got bailed out by a first-round pick that might lift them going forward. But without that, holy hell, how bad would that team look right now if they didn't get that first overall pick? Man, oh man, it would be horrific. It would be horrific for sure. Giannis coming to Toronto. He's going to get bid definitely from the Heat. I don't know. I think we have a pretty good bid here. CMB, I'm not sure a young player CMB's caliber is going to be thrown into the mix here. Raptors are definitely a player here. As the reporters say, the Raptors are definitely one to monitor. You know what I'm saying? It's doable. More likely in the offseason, though, as I said. I mean, look, it's unlikely the Raptors will get compared to the entire NBA that could do this, but the Raptors are definitely a notable team in this. The Masai link to Giannis was always overrated. It exists, but Masai being here won't change the outcome. The Spurs could offer some young players. I do not want to see Giannis playing with Wemby. I don't think the league needs that, but yeah, there's plenty of teams that will look to do this. Raptors are one that can make it happen, though. How do you feel about Raptors being more legitimate with Raptors? I don't understand the question. Moving on. This isn't the only trade the Raptors could get done. There is more out there for the Raptors. And we're about a week away now from the NBA trade deadline. And we've seen what the Raptors have accomplished this season, despite the fact that they are missing some real key elements of their team. Now we're well beyond the halfway point. And now we're in a position where we could really give a good go at things in the playoffs. And if we actually are serious about doing that, and that is where the front office want to go with the rest of the season, it would be a disservice to leave the team as is. So let's go through what needs to get done for the Raptors from a front office perspective before that deadline, because this team still does need help. I don't want the front office to look at 29-19 right at the time I'm doing this stream. They're the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. I don't want the front office to look at that and think, we're fine. We're good as is. This is a team that has been, I think, has been greater than the sum of its parts this season, but still has weaknesses that are exploitable for a 7-game playoff series. In order to be more competitive for the playoffs, some action needs to happen. And look, at this point, we got to be trying to get into the playoffs. We got to be trying to make ourselves competitive for that playoff run, I think. It doesn't necessarily mean breaking the bank and losing a ton of assets, but some form of action needs to happen from the front office. So let's go through the 3 things that could be addressed by the front office here. I think, first of all, the name we were just talking about here, the name that everyone's talking about right now is Giannis. Is a superstar trade a potential for the Raptors to accomplish before that trade deadline? They have enough to get a Giannis trade done. I still think that, again, it's less than a 50% chance that Giannis gets traded here. I think it's more likely it happens in the offseason. But the Raptors have looked into Sabonis. The Raptors have looked into Giannis, Anthony Davis, other names potentially. A superstar trade is definitely something the Raptors could get done. Obviously, if there's a good trade out there to get one of them, you go for it. But I still consider it to be decently unlikely, quite unlikely, that the Raptors pull off a trade of that large of a magnitude. Just a lot of complicated factors that I just don't think all of that is going to line up and go their way in order for a trade like that to materialize. So assuming now there is no superstar trade, what are the other moves that need to happen for the Raptors? I think the most important thing that needs to be addressed, we cannot go through the rest of the season without additional size in the big position. We've done like a really terrific job. Do not forget this. Do not let it just slip past without acknowledging. It is remarkable what the Raptors have accomplished without Jakob Poeltl for most of the season. When he has played, he hasn't been healthy and hasn't played well. That is the only listed center on their roster here. Mamu can play as a center, absolutely. Scotty Barnes has done some small ball 5, as has Colin Murray-Boyles. But to not have a traditional 6'11", 7-footer for this much of the season and to still be this much of a force in the Eastern Conference, it is extraordinarily impressive. Extraordinarily impressive. But what if we could be this good of a team and have that sort of depth in that roster spot? Because all I'm hearing is bad news about Jakob Poeltl. I haven't gotten one single sliver of positive news about Jakob Poeltl's back since he's been out since like December. There hasn't been like a sliver of starting to feel better, it's getting better. All it has been is this is bad. He was supposed to be back here, but he's not back yet. At least he's starting to do like some non-contact stuff. But now there's worry it could be like a chronic back issue that just won't go away. Like, it's all bad news right now. What if you don't have Jakob Poeltl healthy at all this season? You're doing this team a disservice. This is a talented team. You're doing this team a disservice not bringing in size. I'm not saying it has to be a Sabonis or an Anthony Davis. It could be the guy I mentioned in the previous stream, Goga Bitadze. It could be even like a lower level player like Brook Lopez or Kevon Looney. Like, that's not a game changer, but it helps. When you're playing against a 7-footer, you just don't have a body to throw on them. It could be another high-tier name like Daron Sharp, who I think it's a bit of a stretch for Brooklyn to want to trade him. But, okay, let's maybe think, is that something if that could happen? Something here for the center depth. Something to help this team out and just alleviate some of the stress in that position. Mo Bamba is, okay, bring some size. I think we can do better than that. I don't think that's enough. We should be doing better than that, evidently. Like the fact that they waived him and haven't brought him back. A trade, I think that's a mandatory. This needs to be addressed. You need to be able to do something. Yves Missy, name in the brought up in the chat there. Smooth Brown Man puts it in the chat. For sure. Something like that for this team. Mandatory. Now, if you can get that done and you still got room to do something else, what is next? Again, I'm not looking at these home run trades. I'm just looking at, could the Raptors just bring in some additional shooting? Could the Raptors bring in some additional shooting? Because up until the West Coast road trip, where the Raptors shot much better from three, they were the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA as far as three-point percentage is concerned. Right now, they are the fifth worst three-point shooting team in the NBA. Only ahead of Portland, Orlando, New Orleans, and Indiana. Indiana, New Orleans suck. Orlando has been just known for the past couple years to have horrific spacing. Portland, it's a little weird. I mean, I guess we don't have a ton of, but that's a little bit weird. Hey, we're not in very good company here. Like Dallas, Brooklyn, Memphis ahead of us. All not so great teams. I don't think we need to be one of the best, obviously, because we're still pretty good despite this. But let's get ourselves into the middle of the pack. Let's give ourselves a little bit more shooting. Let's give our top tier guys a little bit more floor space to kind of do their thing. That is what I would be looking to do here. I don't have as concrete of examples of what we could do there. It's complicated. It's tough. It is tough to get shooting. Every team needs it. Every team is looking for it. If you've already got it, you're pretty reluctant to get rid of it. So, tough position for the Raptors to address there. I will concede. But if you can, but mandatory, like I said, is to get that big man trade done. That is you cannot put please do not put this team through the rest of the season and a possible playoff series without having that addressed. You cannot trust the health of Jakob Poeltl. It'd be excellent to get him back and healthy. It's looking more and more every day like you're not going to be able to do that, at least for this season, maybe even further than that. So bring in somebody that's going to help this position. I think there are teams willing to part with players who fill that role, and I think the Raptors can get some of those players without giving away way too much in the form of a trade. I talked about it last string. Goga Bitadze is a name I'd look at there as somebody that could help out. The chat loves to bring up Day'Ron Sharpe, who I don't think Brooklyn would want to trade, but there are names out there that you could hunt and you could target. I am quite confident that the Raptors are not done business-wise. They are going to do something. They are typically an active team around the trade deadline. Last year was bringing in Brandon Ingram. Previously, they've brought in, unfortunately, Thad Young at the deadline. Jakob Poeltl previously at the deadline. They are typically active around the deadline. Something needs to happen, but something needs to be done for at least the center depth, and also, if you can, let's give this team some more floor space. Let's get a trade done there as well. Certainly it could be like a superstar trade that happens. I'm just continuing to find those to be a little bit more unlikely. Could Looney be a buy guy? He could be. That's not... It's fine. I just think we could do a bit better than Looney. I know I mentioned him. He'd be okay. Better than nothing. Mo Bamba may not be better than nothing, but maybe something. But try and trade for a guy who could give you some impact. Honestly, how bad Mo Bamba that he can't even get a 10-day contract? He must be pretty bad, huh? For sure. Miles Turner. Miles Turner's making like $25 million-ish. Miles Turner's on a pretty big contract for a center who's not great on defense and can't rebound. Is just awful at rebounding. It's definitely better than Poeltl, who's not healthy, but I'd take a healthy Poeltl over a healthy Miles Turner. Sure, Miles Turner, shit, if you get Miles Turner in the Giannis trade, maybe not the worst thing in the world. But I don't love Turner. Apparently Jakob was at practice. Hopefully he's back soon, man. Darko had a really good answer at a media availability recently where they're like, what's one player you'd like to get at the trade deadline? He's like, or who would you like to get at the trade deadline, or what would you like to get? There's one player I want at the trade deadline. It's Jakob Poeltl back. Great answer, right? Great answer. Get Poeltl back to me. Healthy Poeltl, God, what a good player, for sure. You only trade CBD at a lot in return, like Giannis, for example. Raptors never a good three-point shooting team. They haven't been lately. Usually, if you just go into every season without getting good shooters, you're not going to be a good. It's not just a magic sort of thing that happens. You need to acquire good shooters. Granted, this season I'll give them some credit. They actually tried at least a little bit this summer. Mamu's been a good shooter. They did a good job bringing him in. They've drafted Grady Dick, who has not played up to his capabilities this season. They drafted Jacoby Walter, who is, what's the right word? Jacoby Walter's been fine. I think there's a bit too much pressure on Jacoby just because, we need someone to step up. But he has a 19th overall pick, so, maybe we're not. Kind of expecting maybe some more volume out of Jacoby. Abaji's been horrible from three this season, despite being really good last season. There was an attempt at least this summer Just hasn't worked out for them, I suppose, there. But in the past, it's not like some mystery. Why or how the Raptors not a better three-point shooting? Because they don't have good shooters, you know? that's what it's typically been. Anyways, maybe the Suns. God, Nick. People talk about Nick. Like, we need to do better than Nick Richards. Nick Richards. When I say, sure, it's great to have a guy who's 7 feet tall, but like they need to be a good rebounder and they need to be able to protect the rim and rebound. Nick Richards doesn't solve this problem. Like, it's not just like tall guy for the sake of it. Find any tall guy off the street, but like there needs to be some ability there as well. Like, and I'll pass on the Suns options. Anyways, got a couple more things to get to. So let's dig into the status of the contract situation with the team, because the Raptors are trying to be active towards the NBA trade deadline. One of the main reasons they're trying to be active is that they have bad contracts in the team. And one of the reasons they haven't been able to get any deals done is because they have bad contracts to the teams they're trying to give to other teams that other teams just don't really want. So it's put us in a little bit of a handcuff situation with 2, maybe 3 of the players in the team. So let's look at how bad these Raptors contracts really are and how they stack up against some of the other really bad contracts around the NBA. And what inspired this conversation here is this article that was written by Keith Smith, where article went to Spotrac. It's nothing the worst contracts in the NBA. There are going to be fewer and fewer bad contracts in the NBA. Not that the Raptors can help it, but there are still some deals where production lags behind payment. He ranked the 20 worst contracts in the NBA and lists why. So let's go to the article. 2026 NBA worst value contracts, and let's see where the Raptors are. We're going to have at least one. I think we're going to have 2. I think we might maybe we'll have 3. Let's see where the Raptors are on this list. I closed my eyes. I scrolled right to the bottom because for some reason he goes number 1 is first. So we're gonna start from the bottom here, work our way up through the bad contract. So Jared Vanderbilt, yeah, little bit much, hasn't lived up to his deal, as he says there. Wendell Carter, probably a bit much with that extension. Yeah. Hasn't quite advanced enough. Nick Claxton, not bad. That's not a bad contract necessarily. You'd probably want a center who gives production on a lesser contract, but yeah, I don't know. He's saying doesn't quite fit the team, never truly great defender, solid rebounder, fallen off some over the last couple seasons. Yeah, I've always felt like the Raptors fan base overrated him a little bit, but I'm not sure it's that bad of a contract. Devin Vassell, yeah, the Spurs kind of committed a little bit early here for Vassell. They didn't need to give him that sort of money. I think they'll be looking to kind of get off of this because I think there's improvements elsewhere. So, yeah, Vassell's quite a lot. I can agree there. Jordan Poole, yes, obviously very bad. Jalen Green, yes, obviously very bad. He sucks. Suns a bit of wagon this season, so, but he doesn't deserve 35.3. Jared Allen, he's just diminished quite a bit. He says like Jakob Poeltl. Okay, well, Jakob Poeltl hasn't been on the list yet, so I'm sure we'll see Jakob Poeltl. Yeah, Allen has kind of fallen off a little bit with the injury issues. I mean, he was playing like an all-star for a good period of time, but the injury issues and I think the fit next to Evan Mobley have kind of diminished the value of that contract. Miles Turner, guy we were just talking about. First year of the contract, yeah, kind of tough. They overpaid after the finals, and they overpaid to get him off the Pacers, and it hasn't worked out. It just hasn't worked out. That'll be a tough one to get off going forward for the Bucks. All right, here we go. Number 12, first Raptors player, Emmanuel Quickley. When Quickley signed this deal, it looked fair. Good point. His contract ranked around the middle of the pack for point guards. Quickley looked like he was improving to be a solid star for the Raptors. Well said. I completely agree. Then last season was injury impacted. This season, Quickly's efficiency has fallen off, and now it looks like a low-end starter who might be best as a high-end sixth man on a good team. That's not enough production to justify a deal north of $32 million per season. That is truly an excellent way of describing the Immanuel Quickley situation. The deal at the time, it says it looks fair. I think it was like a bit too high, but it was kind of, we're paying you for what you should become as a player. And we haven't seen the development we were hoping for and expecting. And as much as Quickly's been fine, like people who say, I've said this last stream, but the people who say the Raptors are better just without Quickly are wrong. Quickly's a solid player. He's a fine player. He's just not justifying the amount of money that he's making. Well, last week he was Eastern Conference Player of the Week. But like as a season as a whole, he's not justifying the price tag. That needs to change. I mean, there's a reason he is in the list as high as he is. Drew Holiday, yeah, I guess it's a bit much. Yeah, I guess it's a bit much. It'll be tough for him to play like a $35 million player despite his talents. LaMelo Ball, I don't actually think that was like an overpay. I don't think that's a horrific contract. I don't think it should be as high as that. Ja Morant kind of looks bad right now. I think if he gets a move, he'll start to play up to this quite a bit more. This was a guy getting like MVP votes after all. I don't think it should be quite as high here. Anthony Davis, yeah, I mean, this might be a bit high as well. Like, there's teams willing to take this Anthony Davis contract. They're willing to take on this contract to have Anthony Davis team. Like, Ja Morant sure looks like some teams kind of treat that as a poison pill, but I don't think these are players that teams are actively avoiding. So I don't know if they should be as high as they are. Sabonis, that's pretty high, but again, that's pretty high. Yeah, that's quite a lot for Sabonis. I don't think Sabonis is a real ceiling raiser. So to have him that high, to have him on that figure, $45.5 million a year, yeah, it's tough to justify getting that on your team and building around that, which is why I'm a little bit off the Raptors wanting to trade for him. Jeremy Grant, yes, terrible contract, 34.2, just solid player, but that's just way too much money. DeJounte Murray, awful contract, awful player in my opinion. Patrick Williams, it's not like a crippling level of money, but it's a lot of money for a guy who's not good. I've been saying that for years. Here we go. Jakob number 3. It really is tough to have Jakob Poeltl number 3 on this list. He just signed this extension, and it won't kick in for another year and a half. So for the next 2 years, he's making 19.5, including this year. This one and the next year, 19.5 million. That's not too bad. But then it jumps up to almost $30 million a year the 3 years after that, and he's already dealing with a back issue that could turn out to be persistent. It's not a tremendous situation to be in, absolutely, for the Raptors. They're already trying to get off of this contract. This could turn into, we could be looking at this list in a couple of years, and this might be the top. I don't know. It'll stay close to it for a very long time, I think. You know what? Paul George in the NBA, this will be the worst contract. I can't even think about who's going to be first here. This will be worse than the Poeltl contract until it's sorted, because Paul George is not that good anymore, and he's making money like he's like an all-NBA player, which he is very far from at this point, and he's always hurt. Wow, that's a bad one. Joel Embiid. Ooh, Joel Embiid's first. So it's bad, but like I can't really blame the Sixers. Like, this is a perennial MVP candidate at one point. It's tough to, like, I guess the way he's playing right now and the health issues, it's really bad. I don't think it's as bad as Paul George, but, like, I think part of it is there's a justification for why that contract was given his way. But, unfortunately, like they're saying in the article here, how many games? 24 of 43 games he's played this season. He played 39 games 2 seasons ago, 19 games last season, 24 so far this season. No matter what level he's playing at, that's not returning enough value on one of the largest contracts in the NBA, and his play has been pretty uneven in the last few years when he has played. His play has slipped. He's grabbing the fewest rebounds per game of his career and doesn't move well enough to provide plus rim protection any longer. Yeah. It'll be tough to compete with that, I suppose. Maybe it is the worst. It just doesn't feel right to say it's the worst. I think Paul George is the worst. But the guys we're focusing on here, Poeltl, Quickly, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for Poeltl. I think Quickly, if they hang on to it, I think there's still a chance Quickly does develop and get to the point where we're thinking, okay, not that big of a ripoff, not that bad of a contract. I'm fearful of the contract, but like there's a possibility there. I am genuinely and this is coming from like one of like the biggest Jakob Poeltl supporters. I am extremely fearful of that Poeltl contract going forward, and if there's a chance to get rid of it now, it might really be worth it for this team, because like I said, that could be right at the top, just under Paul George, maybe even under Joel Embiid for years to come. They paid him more later in order to pay him less now, and it's looking like that is going to be a very bad decision. Wow, we could only have just waited one more summer to give him that extension. I wish we knew. Hopefully his back gets better. If his back gets better, he's a great player. But I'm only hearing bad news, like I said. All right, quickly to finish off, let's discuss the NBA Rising Stars rosters. Sophomores, no Raptor featured. No Jamal Shead featured in the sophomores. And I looked through Buzelis, yes. Sarr, yes. Castle, yes. Shepard, yes. Klingon, yes. Cam Spencer, okay. Keyshawn George, yeah. Jalen Tyson, I respect him, but like Jamal Shead probably should be in ahead of him. I think you can make the same case for Jalen Wells. You could definitely make the case for Cam Spencer and kind of make it for Keyshawn George. I don't blame Keyshawn George for being here, but like Wells, Tyson, Spencer, I think Jamal Shead's got a really good case of being ahead of them. Honestly, Reed Shepard might even be gassed up a little bit as well here. I think Jamal Shead should be in here. I'm a little bit upset that he isn't. Further down, rookies. We've got Colin Murray-Boyles in. Felt like that had to happen. Felt like that was the correct call, and we get him in. Colin Murray-Boyles is one of the rookies featured here. 9th overall pick, and he's one of the 10 rookies on this list. That is great to see for sure. As for the G League team, we got our second Raptor, Elijah Martin, coming through, getting in. Very happy for him. I know he's an older rookie, but very, very happy for him to get in here as one of the G League representatives. Great player. And I think has some NBA potential as like a feisty bench option. Just his work ethic might keep him in the league. We'll see. But I've liked his minutes in spurts for the Raptors this season. Absolutely. All right. We're done. Thank you so much for tuning in today for the Raptors Happy Hour live stream. If you did enjoy, do me a favor. Take a second to hit that like button. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. I'm live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for shows like this. And I do watch-alongs for Raptors game. And guess what? Tonight, the Raptors have a game. I'll be live streaming from 7:15 p.m. onwards for the Raptors against the New York Knicks. You'll be redirected to that right after the live stream ends here. If you're watching after the fact, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff for the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate it. Start the discussion. And I hope to see you tonight, just over an hour from now, for Raptors Knicks. Let's make it 5 wins in